Hello everybody, I am Louise Eddington of Cosmic Owl Astrology and I am the Cosmic Owl, and I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell to get notified when I upload new recordings. And if you like this video, give it a like and even a share, because this is a very special video I was called to make this morning on September the 1st for the full moon, the Pisces full moon that we have this evening at 11:22 p.m. Mountain Time. I am on Mountain Time. That's Salt Lake City, but it's 10:22 p.m. Pacific and various times. So let me go to screen sharing because I can't work out my time. So it's 6:22 a.m. Universal Time. Now, do you like my background? This is kind of what this Pisces full moon feels like to me. Kind of stormy, kind of swirly, kind of magical, a little bit lunatic, which is the original word for literally being moonstruck. Because not all Pisces full moons feel like this, but this one particularly does. And I want to explain why. Now, Jen Duchenne and I discussed this full moon at length in the Weirdly Magical podcast. You can find the recording for that in this channel also. But and we discussed the symbols, the Sabian symbols and the Chandra symbols for it, and what this whole period means. But since we recorded that, I have noticed something else. I was like playing with the chart and noticed this pattern. Okay, and so if you look at this, it's an intersecting grand square or grand cross that's almost exact right now, with Lilith and Eris exactly together at 24 degrees 24 minutes, Mars close by, Venus in Cancer, oh that was in Aries, Venus in Cancer with Hygeia, global health, over here at 25. Juno, who represents the rights of the oppressed or a sacred marriage to each other, is in Libra over here at 24, and over here almost exact at the moment is Venus opposing Saturn and Pluto, and I included Jupiter. And then this is the full moon, and I actually included the part of fortune in this chart because that represents really the earth, us. Okay, and Ceres is nearby, and this is at 10 degrees and 12 minutes, the full moon. So it's a very new beginning full moon, very creative. If you want to know about the numbers contained within it, please, do listen to the Weirdly Magical podcast, but that's not what this is about. It was this shape that fascinated me. So it's made of 4 squares, okay, the grand square, 2 oppositions here, a grand cross, grand square, grand cross, interchangeable really because they happen at the same time. 4 semi-squares here going to the full moon, which is exactly cutting through the middle of this grand square or grand cross. That in also, of course, makes triangles all over the place in with it. We've got this this square and pointing to this, which I believe is a hammer of God. Okay. I actually only just noticed that. So I believe it's Hammer of Thor. Let me have a look. It's a Hammer of Thor. So we've got 2 planets squaring one another and making sesquisquare aspects 135 degrees to a 3rd planet. So we've got 1, 2. So we've got 2 hammers of Thor as well, both pointing at the sun and the moon on the full moon. And Hammer of Thor configuration is it's not easy going. If you think of the Hammer of Thor, really, you know, you've all seen the Marvel movies maybe, and it just like slams down and like reverberates out to the world. And this is absolutely stunning and amazing, to be quite honest, this full moon. And I'm like, what's this pattern? What is this pattern? What does it mean? And I couldn't find anything about this total pattern with 2 hammers of Thor, a Grand Cross, a full moon, all these other intersecting triangles. It's intense. I asked other astrologers. They were like, no, I've never seen this. It must be rare because a Grand Cross this exact within 1 degree is pretty rare anyway. And to have a full moon exactly intersecting it is really rare also. I wonder if it's ever happened before, to be quite honest. So, you know, I kept talking about it to my members. I have a membership community. If you like, you can check the link below if you want to join. Just $5 a month gets you kind of almost daily videos, updates about what's going on and some teaching and all that kind of stuff. So I'll come back to this chart in a minute, but hold this this shape. Okay, it feels to me like a real joining together, a real point of pressure and focus. A Grand Cross is that anyway. A Cardinal Grand Cross is about our institutions of power and authority and identity, changing that, immense change, pressure, and then the hammers of Thor, 2 of them, being in Pisces, which is kind of the sign of source of spirit, and then Virgo is our earthly holistic self. Okay, and okay, so hold that shape in your mind, and I want to show you a couple of pictures. So I talked about it to my members, and the first I kept saying, what's this shape? What's this shape? I could not think. One of my bright members, Nikki Sue, she actually said the Merkabah. And I was like, oh my. Okay. Now, officially, the Merkabah has intersecting tetrahedrons that kind of swirl around each other. So it's actually not not just 2-dimensional or whatever. It's actually kind of moving, revolving around the human. But this is the basic shape, and here we have the Grand Cross. Okay, you could move them in to make a square, and then we have the moon in Pisces and the sun in Virgo. That's what it is to my mind. So this includes all the chakras. We have the crown chakra, which is you know, real kind of connection with spirit. And then we have the we don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we only have 6 in there. The crown is way above here. This is the third eye one, actually, I think, and that's the throat. Yes, so the crown is actually above, and actually we are down here, and that will be relevant in a minute. Okay. So this is the crown, this is the throat chakra, this is the heart chakra, this one is the sacral chakra, this is the solar plexus, and this is the root. All right, going down our body, and this is bringing it all in together into our consciousness. Now I have another picture. I sat with this and I was like, yes, the Merkabah. Well, where did that come from? And now I'm going to talk a little bit about what kind of meanings in a minute. And then overnight last night, I had one of those nights that only full moons like this can bring, where my dreams were off the chart, and where I dreamt I stole something kind of quite important, and it would have meant my husband losing his job. It's like, I'm not a thief, so this is all really weird. And then I tried to return it, and I couldn't, and it was all closing in on me, and I woke up in a hot sweat, so just kind of laughing at myself there. But then I kind of woke up in the night and thought, oh, the tree of life. The tree of life, or the in Kabbalah, it's known as the Sefirot. Okay. And I don't know much about that. I knew of it, of course. But here is the Sefirot. And here we have at the top. Remember I said we are up here, and the body is, or our spirit is at the top, and the rest of it is the chakras. And then here's our body, the Virgo. Okay. So I'm going to pull these two together here. So this is the part of fortune. In the Kabbalah, the moon is actually the ego identity. Okay, so it's kind of a little bit different to the astrology, where the sun is the ego identity. But maybe we're shifting, because we are shifting into a new age. And I was like, this is the shape. This is the shape that's in that chart. I could not believe it. So let me just talk a little bit about some of these things. So at the Kita or Keter, we have the crown, which is the divine will to create infinite light of the Creator, the Hebrew name of God. Okay, I am that I am. Chokmah or Hokmah is wisdom, first unbounded flash of an idea before it takes on limitations, male light, divine reality, first revelation, creation from nothingness. Okay. Bina, understanding, the infinite flash of Chokmah brought into the vessel of understanding to give it grasp of breadth and depth, feminine vessel that gives birth to the emotions, reason, understanding, brings Teshuvah, return to God. So, and of course, these are all interconnected. Okay, now, so, and then Da'at. What's that? Okay, Da'at, that's actually Pluto in this. So this is Saturn, this is Uranus. I would read some of this quite differently, but all of these planets are involved very much in this shape that is happening in the sky right now, that I'll show you back in the chart when we've gone back to it. So that knowledge, central state of unity of the 10 Sefirot, also called the tree of life. So that's where it brings it all together. Okay. So spirit, spirit, spirit all comes in to here. Then we have Chesed, kindness, loving grace of free giving, love of God, inspiring vision. And you can read these other things here. Gevurah is severity, strength, discipline, judgment, withholding, awe of God. We need all of these things in the tree of life. This is all contained within us. Okay, this is, and remember, this all came last night. So if you know more about the Sefirot than I do, then please tell me in the comments if you have any thoughts, because this is just like, whoa. Tiferet. This is beauty, symmetry, balance between Chesed and Gevurah in compassion. So it brings these two together. It's kind of like the conscience, it says there, as you can see. And if I'm pronouncing things wrong, sorry. Netzach is active action, eternity, perpetuity, victory, or endurance. Hod is splendor, withdrawal, surrender, sincerity. And we can see the planets. There's Mercury, Venus, Sun, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, Mars. I don't know how accurate this is according to the Kabbalah, but feel free to investigate further if you want to. I will be doing. Yesod, foundation, connecting to the task to accomplish, wholly remembering, coherent knowledge. Brings it down to Malkut, which is the body, which is kingship, exalted humility. All the other Sefirot flow into Malkut, like the moon, which has no light of its own, and it is the final revelation of the divine, the receiver or the giver. And that's Earth. This is Earth. This is what we are about. Now, maybe I'm over egging this, but I don't think so. This pattern is so rare, and I do not think there's any accidents. So I will come back to this pattern. I believe that the universe, the creator, whatever, the creative force, the center of the universe, has brought all this in. I tried to actually turn this so that the sun was at the top and the pot of fortune was at the bottom, but I couldn't get it to turn, so you'll just have to imagine it. But that would also make Sagittarius on the descendant, Gemini on the descendant in London, which is where the nodes are. So I'm going to start adding some planets and some other elements back into this chart, so you can see how all of this is creating this mad, crazy pattern. But first of all, I do want to talk quickly, so much to say, about this hammer of God. So I want to talk to you about Thor's hammer. Okay. So one evening while Thor was away hunting, and this is from lindagoodman.com, Loki, the trickster god, entered Thor's home and cut off all of Thor's wife's hair while she was sleeping. He ran off with her hair under his cloak, but in his haste he left behind a sandal. When Thor returned that night and saw what had happened, he lost his temper. Recognizing the sandal, he sought out Loki and began to beat him. Loki pleaded for mercy, promising to visit the dark elves of the underworld and get new hair, lovelier even than the hair he had cut off. Loki sealed the deal by also promising to bring Thor a very special gift. Gold and the crafting of gold was the art exclusive to dwarfs, who were dwellers in the underworld in a place called Svartalfheim, Black Elves' country. Loki approached the skillful dwarfs and negotiated a fine head of golden hair in exchange for a life of servitude to the dwarfs. Whenever the dwarfs made something special, they would always make an extra item that was given to Odin, the supreme god, and so they also made a spear for Odin. Loki knew he had to escape or be locked into servitude and offered to deliver the spear to Odin. In his haste, while carrying the gifts, he forgot about the promised gift for Thor. As he travelled back up through the underground towards the light of day, Loki remembered, but happened to pass the smithy of a couple of dwarf brothers named Brock and Eitri. Not being willing to risk his personal safety, Loki challenged them to make treasures equal to the 3 he had. The 2 dwarfs liked nothing more than a challenge and began working. They soon created a live boar with bristles of gold and then drew a golden ring and a golden hammer from the fire. The gold ring, they said, would give birth to 8 new precious gold rings every 9th night. The boar would not only carry his rider over land and sea, but in the darkest night his golden bristles would shine so as to always afford the light. And the hammer, well, this was a very special gift that the brothers assigned to Odin, as was the custom. Loki promised to deliver the hammer to Odin, but gave it to Thor instead to appease him. He gave the beautiful hair, the ring, and the boar to Thor's wife and delivered the spear to Odin without mention of the hammer. The story goes that the hammer, named Mjolnir, anyway, never failed to achieve its purpose. It was equally as powerful as Odin's spear, placing Thor in a position of equality with his father, Odin. When thrown, the hammer always returned to Thor's hand. Because of its potential destructive force, Thor was forced to wear an iron glove. Every time Thor throws the hammer, lightning flashes. It hits the target and returns to his protected hand. Exploring the meaning of this, it seems that since the hammer was originally made for a superior god, those in possession of Thor's hammer should always protect themselves against its power. They have been given a gift that is really meant for a higher entity and should use it with care. They should never forget that it came to them through the agency of the trickster. Loki's the trickster, by the way, in Norse mythology, which is Mercury, the messenger of the gods. I believe Thor's hammer expresses a powerful thrust in the psyche that, without full understanding, can drive one beyond rational control and emerge as a dangerous tendency to go to the edge. It can develop a manner personality that sees the individual pushing boundaries to the extent that they will end up damaged in some way. Positively, it can develop into an exclusive talent that will not be repressed and often sets the individual on the path of the role model or emerges as someone willing to give a great deal to humanity. There is a price to pay when we play with the weapons of the gods. We have seen that only Loki, the trickster, manages to escape the fee. That's, those two terms, okay, about these two hammers of gods can drive one beyond rational control and emerge as a dangerous tendency to go over the edge, or can develop a manner personality that sees the individual pushing boundaries that the extent that they get damaged in some way, or it can develop into a talent that will not be repressed and sets the individual on the path of the role model, or emerges as someone willing to give a great deal to humanity. This, to my mind, is this. We've got spirit, we've got Virgo, which is giving of service to humanity. This is the potential of this full moon, to my mind. If we can integrate all of these forces, if we can integrate this Aries, we've got Lilith, we've got Eris, we've got Mars, we've got the divine masculine, you could say Adam, if you like. We've got his original wife, Lilith, because Mars in Aries is really the archetypal masculine. We've got Eris, who shakes it all up, causes chaos, shakes everything up and turns everything on its head. We've got Venus, which could be said to be Eve or Aphrodite, so they're in square, the divine feminine, the divine masculine. Venus is in Cancer, the sign of the mother, the family, the home. Hygeia, I think, is connected with the pandemic, so we won't talk about that. We've got Juno, remembering our sacred marriage to each other in Libra, in balance and harmony. And also the symbol represents the sunrise or the sunset, a new dawn, okay? And then we have the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, all bringing this major transformation to our structures and institutions and the way we've structured our society. Hierarchical. You could say the patriarchy. Some people don't like, people think we talk about that too much, but it is the patriarchy because it's hierarchical. It's father, big daddy, reliance on the big daddy. It's nothing to do with men. Okay, it's this kind of system that we have set up where we have like one president and then all this stuff behind him. We feel like we have to have this leader, the king, the queen, the head. maybe we don't. Maybe we have to bring everything in, you know. Then we have Ceres bridging the land of the mortals and the underworld together, and bringing healing. There's just so much here, and I think it is the tree of life contained in this full moon, to be quite honest. So I'm going to add in some other planets. So we have Mercury, that messenger of the gods, Loki. Okay, he's in aspect to all this Aries stuff, saying in Virgo, being of use, of service. Okay, this is how we can, you know, maybe we all need to go study the Kabbalah and the Sefirot and bring in this tree of life and integrate every part of ourselves. Okay, but this is really in main aspect, but it's, well, it's in a break-free aspect, actually. Maybe it's in a break-free aspect from me, Aries, in a sextile aspect to the cycles of birth and death, which is also Cancer and Capricorn. So there's all those changes coming as well. So we have that. Uranus is also very much aspected by this full moon at 10 degrees. It's exactly aspected to sextile to the moon and trine to the sun, saying, wake up. Oh, he's the great awakener. And I don't mean wake up in the sense of, you know, all this arguing we've got on social media. I mean wake up to realizing that it's all contained within every one of us, okay? And it's in Taurus, which is the earth and manifest world. So it's wake up to how we're treating the manifest world as well. Okay. Chiron is there as well. Now, it doesn't show any aspects to it, but if I had all the minor aspects in, you'd get so confused. But really, this is also in an aspect to, this is in one of these break-free aspects to the sun also. What else do I want to add? The nodes. The nodes are here, and you can see that there's a semi-square here to the Aries, okay? There is a square to Mercury from the North Node, from that messenger of the gods, saying, here's your big message. Move to that North Node. Community, Gemini. Listening to each other again, changing our perceptions, all those kind of things about the Gemini North Node. All right, and that's not another one, is it? There's another Hammer of God. Oh my goodness. Coming from the South Node, square Mercury to Uranus. That's 3 Hammers of God. And I have to tell you, if it wasn't for Anne Ortley, I would not know we had Hammers of God. I would not have been seeing it, because it's not a pattern that I've ever looked for before. We've also got a mystic triangle here with a sextile to all of this. We've got almost every darn configuration that is contained in the astrology all brought into this. To add to that, over here we've got Haumea as well, dwarf planet Haumea. She's not on my software, she's rebirth. Sedna is over here, so she's also aspecting a lot of things, so you can see this all gets even more contained. We've got so much stuff around 8, 9, 10, and then 24, 25. It's just 26. We've kind of got these 2 real clusters of degrees making all these aspects. I will add in Vesta. She's at 9 degrees as well in aspect to in a trine aspect to Chiron, and therefore she's also in a semi-square to the full moon to well, it's not a semi-square actually, it's a different aspect, but they're all connected. And then lastly, Pallas Athena, of all the ones I use, she's here. And she is in aspect to the full moon because she's at 12 degrees, and also to Uranus and to all the other things at 8, 9 degrees. So we have 3 hammers of Thor, Thor's hammers, hammers of God, they're also called. We've got a Grand Cross or Grand Square. We've got a full moon. We've also got a earthy Grand Trine, which means deal with earthly matters, between Uranus, Pallas Athena, and the Sun, which actually forms a kite to I could take everything out but that as well, just to show you. In fact, let me do that. So Venus, Mars, I'm going to take Jupiter out, Saturn, Pluto, Chiron, Juno, Vesta, just to show you this. And Lilith. There you go. Almost perfect kite pattern as well to all of this. It's almost like the cosmos is saying, here, let me throw everything at you on this full moon. Now, what does this all mean? Well, I did in my daily post today that drew some of you to watching this video, that the world is losing its mind. This is almost too much. Okay, and that reminds me of what this says in this thing about the Thors Hammer. It's a powerful thrust in the psyche that, without full understanding, can drive one beyond rational control and to go over the edge. We see it everywhere. Jeffrey Wolfgreen in his Pluto book talked about the stages of consciousness, and I don't like talking about that too much because it's kind of judgment about, I think we all move between the levels of consciousness, but the herd level is really like people are going, they're kind of watching the news or watching on social media or watching YouTube videos and really losing their mind about what's going on, and all these fears are coming up on all sides. Okay, no, this is not about any one person, and it's just really kind of losing everybody. There's a lot of lunacy of the old world going on this full moon, which is, Pisces is fear as well. Pisces and the moon is associated with lunacy as well, because the word comes from the moon. So people are losing their shit. Okay, people are losing their minds. Not everybody, of course, and I'm not going to say I'm totally immune, but I feel like I've stayed pretty out of it a lot of the time. Sorry, I'm adding all the things back in now so you can see the big jumble. But I just wanted to show you, and I'm going to leave you again with this tree of life picture. Let's look at that a little bit more again. That this is bringing in all of the consciousness of the divine, the transpersonal consciousness, the anima, the animus, to speak in Jungian terms, the collective unconscious, the ego ideal, soul, spirit, passive and active, or day and night. If you read my book, there's the day kind of energy and the night kind of energy. It's bringing everything contained within, because each of us has all of this within us. Okay, passive emotional complexes, active emotional complexes, the self in the center of it all, liminal threshold feelings, preconscious, the libido, the mortido, which is I presume to do with death or something, the motor response, sense data, thinking, extrovert, triad, passive or introverted, and brings it down into the body. And then there's our subconscious here too. This is, to my mind, is the picture, is this pattern that's the main pattern contained within. Here are all the planets drawn within it as well. Are there any missing? Well, some of the asteroids are missing. It does not bring into those, but it does bring in all the main planets, indeed, that are all contained with this. That's my feeling. This full moon could be one of the most important ones ever. We're in this time of great change. People are losing their minds. Grounding is important, coming down into the body and taking all this mass of influx of spirit, source, collective information, taking it in, grounding it, not losing your shit, being practical, being useful, being of service. That's the message of this full moon. I think in our podcast, what title did I give it? I gave the podcast this title without having noticed this pattern, without having noticed that we have 3 hammers of God. We have a Grand Trine, we have a Grand Cross and Grand Square. I knew that, but all these patterns all coming in at the same time, and I named it Radical Surrender and Illumination. And I think that's what we are here for on this full moon. Okay, so I'm just going to and it takes those who are conscious of it, conscious of what's going on, to stay in that center, and to come back to what those words were again, to be a role model and someone who's willing to give a great deal to humanity. I don't think there's one person. I think that's a we, by the way. So the sun in Virgo. We have the sun in Virgo. Prudence. Okay. I decided to pull a card. It's actually, I don't think it's a card. I know it's a card I don't know well, so I'm getting my book. It's a tree, like the tree of life. Oh my goodness. I'm having my mind blown today, by the way. It's the 8 of Discs, which is wisdom or the harvest tree. This symbol represents the harvest tree that manifests as a result of utilizing prudence and wisdom. The astrological aspect is the sun in Virgo. Virgo, the astrological sign, reminds us that harvest can be generated by attending to details or utilizing our organizational skills. Harvest follows order. It does not follow chaos, and harvest follows trust. It does not follow control. Prudence and wisdom are these qualities of not pushing to make things happen or resisting or holding back. Here the coins have exploded into flowers, and they are perfectly protected by leaves that embrace each bloom. When you pull this card, it indicates that in the next 8 weeks or 8 months, you can experience harvest as a result of utilizing prudence and wisdom, and as a result of organizing, systematizing, or attending to details. And there might be harvestful opportunities through Virgo themes or people, or just Virgo energy, I think. It is operating from a place of centeredness and integration, or from a place of order rather than from chaos. So to my mind, it means staying in the middle of all this chaos and being useful. So I hope you enjoyed my radical download for this full moon, and please heed these words if you do a release ceremony of some kind, when you speak to the universe. Meditate on this, meditate on that tree of life, meditate on this card, the 8 of Discs. Okay, see what it means for you. meditate on your chakras. I think as the world seems to be swirling into chaos, it needs those of us who can stay grounded and who can stay in that Virgo energy and be useful to others. So don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the little bell if you like my work and get a little notification when I upload new videos. Please give the video a like. Please share it if you enjoy it, because this is all just came to me, through dreams, through a conversation with a client. Also, there's a link to my membership. If you like the way I work, please consider coming and supporting my work for $5 a month and receiving almost daily video updates. I always cover kind of the current energies and often go off into little teaching moments around that. And speaking of the patterns, so you'll learn some astrology along the way as well. So thank you for listening, and happy full moon.